with you guys. Basically, we can have multiple data sources. Here, we have just mentioned some of the databases. Apart from these data sources, we can have Microsoft Excel also, we can have file systems also, we can have XML data also. All these things can be used to configure the data into a data warehouse. Okay, moving forward. What are the business advantages? So basically, the business actually have a high returns on their investment. Now, it is a known fact that if you implemented a data warehousing system in your business, that business within a time span was able to increase their production from up to 5%. So basically, this was something which is actually helps the businesses. It gives you a competitive advantage. Since you have a lot of data stored within yourself, you can actually take decisions out of it, which gives you a competitive advantage. It increases the productivity since the decisions are now easily taken faster by the executives, by the managers. The productivity of all the individuals involved in the system, it increases. It's cost effective. So basically, previously what data we had, in order to take out the data, it was time consuming, it was cost consuming. It actually now became cost effective. So it's easier to take decisions. We have one single standardized data across the system. So basically, if we had different applications running for our business, we had if we had a customer website, if we had an e-commerce website, if we had an ERP, if we had some other applications, then all those applications were previously holding their own data. But at the organization level now, since when we created these data warehouses, we actually consolidated the data into one place. Now we have standardized data. So basically, everyone sees single piece of information. It helps in ad hoc reporting and inquiries. So basically, it's actually beneficial for the managers, for the executives. If their seniors just come and ask for the information, it's easy for them to report it directly to their seniors. With advantages, there are some disadvantages with it. Now, basically, whenever these data warehouses are actually being created, it's actually a time-consuming process. It's a gradual process. You won't see the result directly, but the results would come sometime. As I told you, that in order to have data, we need, in order to have a perfect data warehouse, we need a time-variant data. So what happens is, in order to perfectly able to make decisions out of your databases, you need some time. So it's actually, most of the time, businesses, they just underestimate the resources. It's actually a complex and time-consuming process. Data warehouses are not apt for unstructured data. So basically, if you don't have some data, if you are missing data, then there is a probability that your data warehouse might not be able to yield the kind of expected result you wanted. If your applications are not capturing the data, then the required data, then you won't be able to get the analysis out of those things. High maintenance. So basically, your data warehouses are very high maintenance databases, since these are the whole big chunk of data. So as Sir asked a few moments ago, it's in order to maintain its security, in order to maintain its integrity, you'll have to spend some resources, some time on it. So it is a high maintenance thing. It's a time-taking process. I already told you, we need some time to actually complete the data warehouse. Complexity of integration. The complexity of integration is basically your different organizations, different applications are actually storing the data in different formats. When these different format data are actually consolidated at a single place, It's actually a complex process. You need to transform it. You need to change the data. You need to maintain a single format of data. So it's actually a complex process. So all these things are disadvantages of data warehousing. Data marts. So previously we saw what data marts are in our architecture. So very easily speaking, data marts are actually a specialized data warehouse. So basically a scaled version of a data warehouse, which just focuses on a single dimension, is a data mart. So when we were seeing data warehouses are multi-dimensional. We used to store data of various fields over there. But data marts are actually focused on a single area only. So basically a subset of a data warehouse is a data mart. Now these data marts are created such that so that they can be used for a specific purpose only. Now these data marts are nowadays used for data mining. So you guys must be hearing about. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Suppose I have a school database. So what is the particular subject area in that about data mart?
So whenever you have a school database, you have various kind of dimensions involved over there. So as I already told you, students can be your one dimension. Teachers or employees are your another dimensions. Then admissions can be your another dimensions. Now what happens is when we create a data warehouse, we'll be keeping all these information in a data warehouse. But when we'll be creating a data marts will be like we'll be having a data mart just for the process of admission. So that particular data mart will only be holding information related to the admissions of the students. So that data mart won't be needing your data such as employee data, since it has nothing to do with the admissions. Obviously, those things are related, but when we'll be creating data marts, we'll be using, we'll be actually identifying why we are creating those data marts. Okay. So, okay. So basically, these data marts are actually, again, it's not required to create data marts in your business intelligence tools, but it is always a recommended step since data marts are actually holding the data for a particular subject only. Then it actually helps in resolving the business problems over there. It eases the decision-making process for the individuals. Now, why do you need a data mart? Again, since I already told you that data mart is a subset of a data warehouse, it already has all the advantages the data warehouse already had. But what happens in data warehouse or data marts is when we create a data mart, particular to a subject, it actually improves the end user's response time. So when we create data warehouses, data marts, in order to retrieve data from these stores, it takes a lot of complex queries, a lot of SQL queries and group by queries we need it. So it's actually a time-consuming process. And when these queries are run on a millions of data, then it takes some time to execute, and hence the response time is actually a slightly delayed response time as compared to databases. So data marts actually increase that response time for your end users. So if you have admission specific data mart already available with you, then you can actually provide that data mart's access to the specific team who's actually working on the admissions. Excuse me. Similarly, you can create a marketing data mart. Now that marketing data mart will be actually only holding the data which was related to your marketing needs, and hence you can actually provide it to only to those group of users who needs that data for their marketing purposes. With data marts, we have a clear defined user set. So again, in data warehouses, since we had multiple dimension data, the area, the number of users over there was large number of users. But with data marts, you have clearly defined potential users who will be using your data marts. So it speeds up the process. So while creating data marts, the source of data mart is always a data warehouse. Now, creating a data warehouse is actually a complex and a difficult process since we have to collaborate data from multiple databases. But while creating data marts, this data is actually coming from a data warehouse. So we have all the things necessary already present with us. Now we just need to bifurcate these data, and hence the process becomes slightly easier. So implementation cycle of data mart is short period of time. Now data warehouses, as I already told you, that we keep on saving the data in the data warehouse and we never delete the data out of it. But data marts are created such that they hold only a short period of time data, so that they can actually use the data to gain the analysis in real time. And we keep on refreshing the data marts. We keep on adding new data. We keep on removing the data from the backend, since we already have a data available in our data warehouses. Data mining. Okay, so data mining is another important concept. Just give me a sec. Okay, sorry. So data mining is actually a very important aspect in today's digital world. We all are very much into social medias. Okay, so there are frequently we actually see some pop-ups, we see some ads of the things we never searched, but we were actually talking to with our family, with our relatives, with our friends. So all those things are actually a result of data mining. So what happens is all the things in today's world are actually stored. The data is stored in one place. Now these stored data, when mined, such that it can actually result into a meaningful pattern, that process is data mining. Data mining is actually used in today's world for machine learning, for artificial intelligence. So basically, what machine learning does is, we already have the mathematical algorithms feeded over there, and the machine automatically retrieves the data. It uses their algorithms and evaluates the meaningful patterns and rules of the how the customers use their data. Okay, so how it's done? Now, basically, data mining is actually it's a gradual process again. Now, we need to understand what we want out of our mining technique. So basically, first of all, in order to implement any data mining technique, we need to have a business understanding. We need to have a concrete requirement that out of this mining technique, we will be able to generate this amount of data or this amount of analysis or reporting, which we'll be using for some decisions. So the business understanding while implementing any data mining techniques, it's actually very important. Once we have a business understanding, once we have our concrete requirements available with us, then we start to understand what kind of data normally we receive. So basically, in order to create any mathematical algorithm, we first need to understand what kind of data we will be getting from our different sources. How we'll be using, how will we be using those data? So all those things are done while through data understanding. Now, once we know what kind of data we'll be getting, we prepare our data. So basically, we know that we'll be getting our data from different sources. We'll be getting those data in real time. So we'll be, once we get those data, we'll have to prepare the data so that we can feed it to our modeling techniques. So after the preparation of data, data modeling is done. So data modeling are basically complex mathematical algorithms which are done to such that they can actually yield us some business related data for us. So basically, this is the phase where we actually write complex algorithms such that we'll be able to read the data and we'll be able to perform some meaningful algorithms on it. Okay, so once the data modeling is done, we actually evaluate the kind of data we use. So the kind of data we got after our mathematical algorithms ran, we evaluate the data, whether the kind of data we received is actually what we wanted or not. And once we evaluate it, we are able to deploy it in the real time. So it's basically, this mining process is how we reach from collecting data, from understanding the process to actually implementing the technique. This is how it's done. Okay, OLAPs. So before moving on OLAP, I actually want you to know what OLTPs are. Now, OLTPs are online transaction processing systems. So any system in which we actually hold the data, we take data from the customers, we all the real-time processes which we do nowadays are as a result of OLTP systems. So basically, the transaction in an ATM machine is actually a OLTP system, since it's a real-time process. Whenever you insert your card, you actually get to see your exact amount which is available in your bank account. Similarly, all the payment gateways which is being which we actually use, these are OLTP systems. Now, OLTP systems basically OLTP system basically use daily transactions for an organization. So these systems actually work on update queries, insert queries, delete queries. However, OLAP systems are actually analytical processing systems. So data warehouses are actually OLAP systems. Now, OLAP systems are the systems which does not have frequent inserts and updates in the system. They have historical data present in them, and any system which uses this historical data just for the purpose of analysis and reporting are the OLAP systems. So here we can see the comparison of what OLAP and what OLTP is. So a basic difference between an OLAP and OLTP is OLTP system basically involves real-time transactions where there is a database modification. For example, in a ATM machine, if we took out an amount from our bank account, then at the same time we'll be able to see the updated amount in our schemes. So that's an OLTP system. OLAP systems are the systems which are not doing any real-time modifications, but are actually providing us analysis of any system. The focus of OLTP systems are basically on insert, update, and deleting information from the databases. But the focus of OLAP is just to display the data, to extract the data and show the data to the customer, to the user in the desired format. So basically, if we are working on structured query language in our SQL queries, so OLTP systems basically works with insert, update, and delete queries, and OLAP systems work with select queries. Data now, OLTP has the original source of data, the data which is actually being captured from a customer's response is stored in an OLTP system. But an OLAP system, the data is coming from various OLTP systems. So whenever the customers do some thing on your website, we save the data in our OLTP systems. And gradually, when we have OLTP systems and we are planning for a data warehouses, we actually OLT as compared to OLAP, OLTP systems are very time responsive. So basically, in matter of milliseconds, we get the results in case of OLTP systems. However, the OLAP systems may take comparatively more time as compared to OLTP systems. Data integrity is an important aspect for OLTP systems, since they are the ones who are actually storing the data from the customer's perspective. Hence, they need to ensure that the data integrity is there or not. For example, if we are performing a payment, online payment, if you're doing some online payment, if you're trying to buy something on Amazon, and if the payment fails, then it's a big issue for OLTP systems. They'll have to make sure that the customer is able to get the required message. However, OLAP systems, since they do not get easily modified, their data integrity is always ensured. Moreover, in OLAP systems, the data is already coming from OLTP systems. Hence, the integrity of those data is already maintained over there. Now, till now, whatever we were talking about, these were actually data warehousing concepts. In order to implement anything related to data warehousing, so any business intelligence tool, any ETL tool, if we want to implement, we need to have these concepts should be clear. Now we are actually moving to more implemented view of these aspects. So ETL, what is ETL? Whenever we need to create a new data warehouse, we need to have, we need to find our databases, we need to find our data sources. So ETLs are used to actually extract the data from your different databases and load the data in the desired data warehouse. Now, while extracting and while loading that data, since the systems are completely different, the extraction is being done from a source, which is an OLTP system, or it can be a file system. And the data being loaded is a relational database system. So in order to extract and load the data, we need to transform the data before loading, so that we have the desired output. So ETL is extract, transform, load. Extracting is nothing but extracting the data from the source system. Getting the data as effectively as possible is the extraction process. Transform is performing some cleansing, some calculation, some modifications. We take out the data, only those data which we need, and then we transform it, and then we load the system in the target storage. So this process is ETL. Informatica, which we'll be seeing a few slides later, is a tool which is used for this extraction process, extraction, transformation, and loading process. So we'll be seeing how it's actually being done also. What is the need for an ETL? Now, as I already told you, this ETL process is being done from quite some time. Now, before we had these ETL softwares, it was previously being performed by COBOL routines. So basically, we had some COBOL procedures which we used to run, which we used to take a lot of time and it used to create a lot of metadata as well. So before that, this was being done through COBOL procedures. But now, so that process was a very time-consuming, very hectic process. ETLs nowadays actually load millions of data within seconds. So the difference in the transaction time has gradually reduced after the ETL softwares came. ETL actually adds value to the data. So basically, if we had some problem in our data, if the transaction processing system actually stored the data in such a format we don't need it, then we can actually correct the data. We can remove the mistakes out of it. Now, as I already told you, that we can actually collect data from various sources. Now, collecting data from various sources and loading it into a single system is already a complex process, which is easily being done by the ETL. The ETL software actually structures the data, which can be used by the business intelligence tools. So basically, business intelligence tools are the main tools which will be used by the end users for analysis and for reporting purposes. Okay. These are some ETL tools which are used nowadays. So DataStage is an ETL tool. It's largely being used nowadays. Informatica is another one. IBM Infosphere, Oracle Data Integrator, Ab Initio, Cognos. Okay, Cognos I've mentioned.
So there is one question, sir. Sorry to interrupt you in between.
Yes, sir, please.
So how can we maintain the integrity when we are transforming the data?
So basically,
we are extracting the data.
Yeah. So we are actually maintaining the data integrity in such a way that we won't be removing any data from the system. Okay. All the data which is actually being coming will be loaded to the system where there is. But when data integrity is concerned, since the data sources from which the data is being extracted, those data sources have already maintained the data integrity. We don't have to maintain the data integrity in this system. So basically, we are actually collecting the data from a place which is already which has already maintained everything. We are just extracting the data from that place and we are loading it to a different place. The complexity comes when the data is being actually collected from variety of sources. For example, if we had some data in our MySQL server, we had some data in our SQL servers, we had some data available to us in Oracle system.
Because we are collecting data from different sources on different background.
Right.
Suppose somebody is maintaining Oracle, somebody is maintaining other platform, MySQL,
right.
Somebody is maintaining other database softwares in the background.
Right.
So the file format will be different for different databases.
Exactly. So that is where the transformation process will take care of these things. So extraction process basically just extracts the data from these systems. So what happens in these ETL tools, they use different connectors. So these connectors basically connect with the particular data source from which we want to extract the data, and they just collect the raw data from them. Now, once that raw data is collected from multiple sources, the data gets collected at a single place. We call that as a staging database. So once we have a staging database created, we then such that we are able to load the data at a single place. So I'll show you how it's done actually. So this is a sample mapping which I'm showing you right now. What happens is in the left side, this green box is actually our source definition. If it's visible, I don't know if it's or not. I'm telling you, it's actually a source definition. So source definition is we create a database kind of repository over there in our ETL tool. which has all the things which the source database was using. So we basically just extract all the data in this source definition. From that source definition, we actually transfer the data to a target definition using these mappings. And between we have some transformations done. I'll be telling these things later on.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, okay. Thank you, sir.
I was telling you these are variety of software which are nowadays used. Talend is one software which is now being highly used. Informatica, SAP, since all the companies are nowadays providing the end-to-end system to everyone. SAP system is being used. Pentaho is being used a lot. Out of these ETL tools, I have actually worked on DataStage, Informatica, and Cognos only. Some of Jasper reporting I have done. But apart from that, I have not worked on all these tools. But most of these tools work in a similar kind of way. They have the same process. ETL integration solutions. So all these systems basically provide, excuse me, all these systems basically provide these kind of features. So basically, whenever you have an ETL software with you, you will be able to migrate your data. You can have consolidated data at one place. You can have data integration, how data is integrated. We have a master data management, data warehousing processes, data synchronization. So all these things can be performed using a ETL software. I'll tell you each of these things briefly. So data migration is nothing, just migrating the data from one place to another. So this is a very usual process in any organization which is actually working on multiple things. This data migration is done. Even implementing any software, we migrate the data from development environment to UAT environment, from UAT environment to production environment. So basically transferring the data from one particular place to a different place is a process of data migration. So these
one question
yes,
from
yes,
one participant named Manju Nath.
yes, sir.
That participant is saying how we can test ETL. How
So
ETL testing will be done.
So ETL testing tools are already available. So those tools are able to tell you how ETLs are actually performing. But as far as I can understand, I think Sir wants to understand by testing. He means that how can we check whether the amount of data captured is being loaded or not? Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yes.
He's
So
asking that.
basically, what happens is these ETL tools, they'll exactly tell you what is the number of rows which are actually being which were actually being extracted from the source system, and what are the number of rows which are we actually loading into the system. So by looking at the rows, by getting the data, we can easily understand whether our ETL process was successful or not, or we got we extracted the required number of data and we loaded the exact same number of data or not. Moreover, we have ETL testing tools already coming from these companies only, and these ETL tools actually testing tools test the data for you. They'll test the load as well, on the time as well. They'll test everything. Moreover, when I showed you this screen, since I don't have Informatica in this system, we use VPN for it, I won't be able to show you. But if we just right click over there in this source definitions or target definition, we can view the data as well. We can view what kind of data is also coming. So it's everything is mentioned over there. ETL tools make sure that we have all these kind of things available with us at all times. Okay, moving forward. Data migration, I told you that it's just to change your database. You were previously using Oracle database, but Oracle database, suddenly you thought that it's not very cost effective. I want to move to MySQL. So that process where you just move the data from Oracle to MySQL, that's data migration. Then comes data consolidation. So basically, we have multiple remote locations. We have our regional offices. So for many organizations have their regional offices, they have their branch offices. So collecting data at their own branch offices and then moving it to a one central location, that's data consolidation. Data integration. So basically combining the data from various different sources into a single place is data integration. So again, capturing the data from Oracle, from MySQL, from SQL Server, and from Microsoft Excel, and loading the data into an IBM DB2 database is the process of data integration. So we collect the variety of data from different data sources, and we transform and complete it in, collect it at one place. Master data management. So basically, we create a master database which can actually communicate with other databases, so that we can actually change the data at one place, and all the other databases automatically gets reflected. Is the process of master data management. So it's collecting the data, aggregating it, consolidating it, quality assuring it, everything is done through master data management. Data warehousing, we already saw that we just populate our data warehouse, which will be later on used for reporting analysis purposes. These type of solutions are provided by ETL tools. Then there is data synchronization. So, for example, we have in our case, Oriental College has two different branches, one in Bhopal, one in Indore. So basically, both of them keeps on collecting their own data, and later on they'll synchronize their data. So we decide a time. Within that period, we'll be synchronizing the data, and all our systems are actually updated. So all these kind of processes are done by ETL tools. How ETL works. So this is basically what we are talking till now. So Navision is a different database. Target is a different database. We have our databases from which we are actually consolidating the data into a one single staging area. This staging, once the data is stored in this staging area, after getting extracted from both these different kind of sources, we just save the data over here in the staging area. Once we have this staging area data with us, we'll actually clean it. You are using our transforming techniques. And once we have done the transformation, we'll update it into a target definition from which we'll load it into the final database. So basically, the green area over here, which you are seeing, is the ETL software's functionalities. The first and the fifth steps. The first original is the data source. It's a completely third-party database. And the final load is also done on a completely different third-party database. The middle process, the second, third, and fourth process, is the process which is being done in the ETL system. Introduction to Informatica. So basically, Informatica is the leading vendor in enterprise data integration management solutions. So basically, the best tool till date is Informatica, which is highly being used by all the customers for their ETL purposes. So Informatica gives you enterprise data integration, data governance, data migration, data quality, synchronization, data warehousing. All these kind of things are available in Informatica, and you can, depending on your requirement, you can actually use Informatica's any client or server tool for managing your solutions. Features. So these are basically ETL tools features. Informatica does have it. Some other tools also, all the tools I mentioned over there, all those tools nowadays have it. So they basically the features for particularly with Informatica, they deal with partition tables very efficiently. They have bulk extract and bulk load functionalities, where I told you that millions of data is getting extracted and loaded in just a matter of seconds. They have option of disabling the triggers. They have the option of generating new IDs. They have their own caching techniques. They have the parallel processing techniques. They have versioning and source control. So basically, after loading the data, if you found that, no, I did something wrong, or there was some mistake in the ETL process, then we don't have, the data that does not get lost. We have version data available with us. We only perform the development work or the transformation work is done only on a source controlled data. So these kind of features are available with Informatica. So these are the applications which are being used. So on the left, we have our repository manager. On the right, we have our administration console. So these are basically the administration applications of Informatica. Using repository managers, you can actually create and manage repositories. You can create folders. You can create objects. You can create users. So this is this is the thing I was talking about regarding the security. So all the access related things are done in the repository managers. So basically, whenever we have to move our data from one place to another, we first of all create a repository which is very similar to the data source from which the data is going to be extracted. We create a repository over there. That repository initially extracts the data and stores the data in the repository manager only. And once this data is stored in the repository manager, we are then using our version and source control systems, we actually perform transactions on those systems. So repository manager basically, in order to perform any ETL process, we need a repository manager. We need to work on these repository managers. Then we have administration consoles. So Informatica has their own administration console. However, it is recommended that DAC is used as the administration console for Informatica. Now, DAC is another software which actually administers the data. We can actually use it. So what kind of administration can be done? We can actually create repositories. We can start our processes. We can stop the process. We can actually go over there and create a timeline that within this period, we'll have our data synchronized, we'll have data refreshed. We can go over there, we can see all those kind of things over there. We can create tasks over there. So these kind of things can be done in repository manager and administration console. Now the client applications available for Informatica for development are the Designer, Workflow Manager, and Workflow Monitor. So basically, this is Power Center Designer, Power Center Workflow Manager, and Power Center Workflow Monitor. Now, designers are actually used for creating and managing ETL mappings. I'll show you what mappings are, but this is the place where actual transformation and actual development is done in Power Center Designer. Once our ETLs are created, these are actually run through Workflow Manager. So you create services over there. Those services can services run at a defined period of your choice in the Workflow Manager. So you can schedule them, you can run them, you can schedule them so such that once completing first ETL process, the second ETL process starts. So there are cases when we want, there is a case when we want to capture the data from a DB2 instance. We want to load it in our Oracle instance, And once we have loaded that system, Oracle system, we now want to move that Oracle system data to a MySQL system. So those kind of workflows can be managed through Power Center Workflow Managers. Power Center Workflow Monitor is the tool provided by Informatica for monitoring the tools. So this is the place where you can see what kind of data came and what kind of
Sorry
data.
to interrupt you. Can you share the screen again, sir? It has gone, sir.
Okay, just give me a sec. So it automatically pauses my presentation. I don't know why. Is it available now? Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, one of us asked this question of ETL testing. So basically, the data he wanted to understand. This in this workflow monitor, you can see in real time what data is being extracted, what kind of process is being performed, and what data is being loaded. Sometimes when we have millions of rows of data being extracted and loaded, there is a point when after 100 rows, your ETL process stops due to an error. So in the workflow monitor, you can go and check what happened, what row got affected, what row caused that error. So all those things can be seen in workflow monitor. So combination of all the three tools, Designer, Workflow Manager, and Workflow Monitor, is used to effectively run an ETL mapping. Sources, the kind of sources which Informatica uses. So the data sources can be a relational database having tables, so Oracle, Sybase, Informix, DB2, SQL Server, MS SQL Server, Teradata. All these kind of sources are compatible with Informatica. Then we have file systems, so you can have your TXT files, you can have your COBOL files, you can have your XML files. Data can be extracted from these files also. They have their connectors through which you can connect your Informatica system directly to some of your business tool. For example, PeopleSoft, SAP, you can directly connect your system, and as and when the data gets collected in PeopleSoft or SAP system, the data automatically gets loaded to the desired target. So these things can be done for automation. Mainframe, they currently allow only IBM DB2 mainframes servers to interact with it. Then apart from this, other files like MS Excel and MS Access can be used as data source in Informatica. Targets, so basically sources were the ones from which we can extract the data. Now comes the target, tables, the places where we can actually load the data. So Informatica is able to load the data and all these kind of things. So we can have a relational database, Oracle, Sybase, Informix, DB2, SQL Server, anything. File system, you can actually have the target database, which is a flat file, which is a TXT file, which is an XML file. COBOL is not being supported for target database since it's actually not required nowadays. It's not very work. The people don't work on those systems now. Extended, so you can directly connect your ETL system to a business tool. So you can directly connect it to your SAP, where SAP can, using SAP, so that you can actually have your analysis and reporting. So all these kind of things can be done. Others, MS Access is given as target, but you can see MS Excel is not given as a target. So you cannot load the data into an Excel file format using Informatica. Then they have their own FTP and external loaders. They have ODBC connectors, drivers, so that you can easily connect with any of these databases or any of these business sources. So a general flow. So we have been talking about it for some time. So the general flow is the first step when doing any extraction and any loading is creating repository. That's the first step. You will have to create a repository. which is very much similar to your source database from which the data is being extracted. Then in that repository, you create folders. The reason for these folders are you can have different folders for different dimensions so that you can provide access to different users only. So when these folders are created, you create users, you assign permissions to them. So these permissions are being provided for these folders. Each of these folders are having their own access, and only those users who have that access can only use these folders. So initially, that's the first step. You will go on to your repository manager, you create a repository, your folders, your users, you assign permissions, and then only you start working on your client tools. The second step is once the repository is created, we actually connect this repository from our designer. So PowerCenter Designer, another tool of Informatica, you go over there, you connect your desired repository. If you have access to that repository, if you have access to that folder, you will get connected. Once you have connected that repository, you will be able to import the source and target tables, and then you'll be able to create mappings. Once your ETL and your mapping is created, the third step is actually creating a workflow. So this workflow manager, as I already told you, is actually very strategically created for these kind of situations where you can actually, where you want something different other than from your ETL tasks. So you want different ETL processes to run simultaneously. For example, you extracted the data from an Oracle database. This data got stored in our staging database in our repository. From that, we started manipulating the data. And once we manipulated the data, we loaded that data in a target repository, not in a target database. Once the target repository is loaded, we use that target repository as a source for another ETL mapping for performing another calculations. So these kind of things can be done through Workflow Manager. So basically connecting 2 or 3 ETL processes, you can do through this Workflow Managers. So once our ETLs are created, we go to our Workflow Manager, we create our task, and once we create our task, we can actually run the task from there, and then we can monitor our data from PowerCenter Workflow Monitor. So this is a screen, basic screen of Informatica. So this is basically Informatica PowerCenter Designer. Now here, as you can see, we have different options. Is this screen visible to everyone? Hello?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay,
very much visible.
Great. So this is what we were talking about till now. So you can see over here, we have repositories on the left side. In that repository, we created one repository named the repo, so basically information repository. There we created a folder 1, for example. In that folder, we had different things mentioned over there. There we have sources, there we have targets. These are the main 2 things which we need. Our sources are the source repository. So basically, if you are planning to import it from a database, we can go to sources, we can import data from the database, we can import data from file, we can import data from COBOL file, we can import data from XML file. So you have options of importing data. This is how it's done. Once you click on import from database or file or whatever option you choose, it will ask you to just connect to that database, and it will start importing the data from that database. Similarly, once the data is imported, now if it's visible, you can see on the left menu, there we have sources, and in that sources, we have different tables mentioned over there. So the data got imported in the system. Now, once the source system is actually imported, then we start to actually create a target definition. So basically, again, now how we want to load the data, where we want to load the data, we'll have to mention it in the system. So one thing I want to make it clear, the moment we import the database, at that time, the data does not get entered into the system. The data will only get entered into the system once we create our workflow over there and start our sessions. Right now, we are just creating some definitions, sources and source definition, so that the ETL tool can understand what kind of data it's going to handle. And we'll be creating a target so that the ETL tool can understand what kind of target system is available with us and what kind of data it is going to load. So you just go to your targets and import it from your database. Now, mapping. So basically, once we have our source definition defined, so basically in the green we have our source definition. It can be an Oracle system. So one of our Oracle system had a table where we had employee ID, job ID, first name, last name, address, these kind of columns available in it, in one particular table. And we want to load all this data into a different target database, but that target database does not want all this data. It just wants employee ID, last name, first name, and office phone. So what we'll be doing is we'll be capturing all the data, we'll be transforming the data, and then we'll be loading only the required data which is required by the target database. So basically you connect your fields over here so that the ETL tool can understand what information needs to be coming from which column. So this is how it's done. Now, transformations. So basically, what kind of transformations can be done on a system? Now, Informatica allows you a variety of transformations. I have just I just mentioned only 10 of them out of it. They have more than 50 transformations available, but only the ones which we generally use, I have mentioned over here. So aggregator transformation can be used, filter transformation can be used, router, joiner, source qualifier. So aggregators transformation is nothing. We have an option of, there is an option of transformation available with us. I cannot show you over here since it's actually it's actually behind the menu bar, which is coming over there. But you have a variety of options over there. So different transformations, these are readily available. You can just click over there, and this transformation will automatically perform aggregate calculations for you. So if you want your source system, suppose your source system had data such as student's name, roll number, and marks of different subjects, and you wanted your target database just to have student's name, roll number, and percentage. So you can use this aggregator transformation, which will directly take all the subject marks from the source definition, and it will aggregate, it will perform the calculation, aggregating function, and it will enter the desired percentage result into your target definition. Similarly, you can use filter transformations where you can filter out some rows. You can decide that we don't want to save data which does not have this basic requirement. So you can filter out the things if you want. Router transformation, you can so basically you will be combining multiple filters, you'll be routing things. So if you want, first of all, to bring out all the students from the source definition, then you want just those students who have marks greater than 80 in mathematics. And the moment you have filtered out those resources, now you want only those students who have marks in maths 80 and in science who have 70. So basically a combination of filters you can apply over there. You can perform joins. You can have any type of join in the joiner transformation. You can just go over there. You can mention if you want inner joins, you want outer joins, you want full inner join, left join, right join, any joins. So these transformations are actually active transformations. These transformations are known as active transformations. Active transformations are those transformations in which the number of rows coming in and the number of rows going out are different. So there is a possibility that the number of rows coming from the source and the number of rows going to the source is different. So basically, it's obvious, right? We have already filtered, since we are using a filter transformation, we have filtered out all those students who have marks below 80 in maths. So we filtered out. So the number of rows coming from source was, suppose, 1000. Now only 700 rows are being populated to the target destination. So these kind of things can be done through active transformations. You can filter out the things. Then we have passive transformations. Now, passive transformations are those transformations in which the number of rows coming in and the number of rows going out remains the same. So basically, you have expression transformation. So if you want to perform some simple calculation, any mathematical calculation, you can use it. You have lookup transformation. So lookup transformation is very much similar to VLOOKUP in Excel, if you guys have. So basically, it will find the data in a particular database, in a particular table, and it will retrieve the whatever data you want. So all those kind of things can be done in lookup transformation. Sequence generator, if you want to generate new IDs, you don't want whatever primary key the source definition had, you don't want it in a target, you can use these kind of things. You can perform any procedure, you can create a stored procedure over there, and whatever rows will be coming, all those stored procedure will be done, return values will be forwarded. Insert, update, rejected, these kind of transformations are passive transformations.